wanted to put on the record, this witness has been under subpoena, the one that the state was calling Paula Smith has been under subpoena for at least several weeks now, and was provided in discovery, I think, pursuant to what we discussed. I had a conversation with her prior to the trial beginning, expecting that she wouldn't be necessary, if at all, until sometime this week. We have talked to her, I think, in the past day or two, in preparation mostly for cross-examination, and has since determined that we'd like to call on our case in chief. The reason I wanted to talk to the court right now is because we did have a conversation last evening, and in that conversation, this witness indicated to me that she had seen some things on TV from news clips. And I know that there is a separation of witnesses. I expressed to her that whatever she may have seen may not be accurate, may not be true, and that she's not to do any more of that. But obviously that may be an issue, and I wanted to bring it to everybody's attention in case the court wanted to address it ahead of time.
Well, I'm not really sure how I would address it ahead of time. I mean, we're not talking about an issue with a juror, we're talking about an issue with a witness. Obviously, if the answers get into that realm, and there's going to be extensive latitude from the defense to cross-examine, I really am not sure how else to address that situation.
I don't believe that it's a technical violation of the court's separation, but I do think that it treads on that line, and that's why I wanted to address it.
Ms. Pagan, what should be heard?
I'd like to look at the rule just quickly before I say anything.
Go ahead. Actually, where are you looking?
6:15. Yeah, I mean, the way I look at it is in 615A, the rule specifically says that the exclusion is effective only to require the exclusion of witnesses from the hearing during the testimony of other witnesses. So what I think is highly articulated is not a violation of that. But, so I don't think there's a violation of 615. But I do think, as you point out, it's a fertile ground for cross-examination.
And I'm actually up here reading 615 as well, and I agree with your reading of it. And I do appreciate the state being forthcoming to bring this to everybody's attention. If that does become an issue, and at this point I obviously have no way of knowing it, but like I said, I will allow, obviously, the appropriate cross-examination as necessary on whatever issues this might bring up. So, I appreciate the state's proffer of the information. I do not find, and the defense actually agrees, that there is no violation of the separation of witnesses, and we'll proceed accordingly. Otherwise, is everybody ready to get the jury in here and get started?
Yeah, we are.
Very good. Ms. Wilson, would you locate him and bring him in, please?
Yes, sir.
All right, everybody, have a seat. Ladies and gentlemen, the jury, you're back. Any issues with the admonitions I need to know about? Very good. Ms. Hiley, state ready to call us next witness?
Yes, the state calls Paula Smith.
I'm going to ask you to stand right here and face me. Raise your right hand. Do you swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Okay, just have a seat here. Watch your step, please.
Good afternoon, ma'am. You notice we do have folks here from the media. Do you have any objection to potentially your face being broadcast on the news?
Yes, I do.
All right, so she will only be photographed from a view that does not include her face. Ms. Hiley, you may proceed whenever you're ready.
Would you state your name for the record, please?
Paula Smith.
And Ms. Smith, I'm going to ask that you keep your voice up. We have to be able to hear you. We don't have that. There's a lot of microphones in front of you, but they don't project your voice, so we need to hear you all the way back here and back in that corner, all right? So would you go ahead and state your name again?
Paula Smith.
And would you spell your last name?
S-M-I-T-H.
And where do you live?
39 sorry.
Take your time.
3942 Shank Road.
I'm sorry, could you say that again?
3942 Shank Road,
All right, and what is the rest of that address?
Hamilton, Ohio 45013.
Your Honor, if you can just keep it from showing on anybody else's screen. I can't find the paper exhibit. I want to show State's Exhibit 86 first to make sure that she can recognize it. Make sure it's not going up in
The
front
only
of the jury
screen I
at this
control
point.
is the jury screen.
Yes, if you can do that.
Yeah, sure.
That's what I'm asking. Thank you.
Well, we gotta make sure that no other screens can be viewed. Why don't you just hand, if you just hand it to her, it might be an easier way than.
All right,
trying to-
well, if I can have a minute to locate that paper exhibit. If I may approach the witness with State's Exhibit 86, showing it to counsel. Are you able to recognize what's shown in that exhibit?
Yes.
And what is it showing?
Where I live and the barn and our neighbors.
In just a moment, it should pop up on the screens. Try it a different way. State's Exhibit 86, can you go ahead and show us where your house is on that? If you could circle it, you can actually touch the screen, just make sure you're pushing hard enough. Do you know the defendant, Lindsay Partin?
I do.
How do you know her?
She married my stepson.
Okay. And your voice is dropping just a little bit, so I'm going to ask you to say that again.
She married my stepson,
And what's his name?
TJ Smith.
Do you know them to be married?
I know they had a wedding.
Did you ever learn that they were not married?
Yes.
Approximately how long after the wedding did you learn that it was not a formal marriage?
Over a year.
And in relation to your home, did Lindsay and her husband TJ, did they live nearby?
Yes, right next door.
Can you go ahead and mark on this map where they live? And the defendant, Lindsay Partin, do you see her in the courtroom today?
Yes.
Would you point her out and describe what she's wearing?
A blue and pink top.
And go ahead and take a minute. Can you describe how you would get along with the defendant?
Very well.
What type of contact would you have with the defendant?
We were neighbors friends. Family gatherings.
Did you text and call with the defendant?
Yes.
If I may approach the witness with Defendant's Exhibit BB.
You may.
This is the call log. If you want to go ahead and look at that first page. Can you tell us if your phone number is identified within that?
Yes.
And what is that phone number?
My telephone number?
Yes.
513-315-3694.
And is there a name associated with that telephone number?
Yes.
And what is that name?
Paula Smith?
So your name is with your phone number.
Yes.
How long have you known the defendant?
– 2015.
Are you familiar with Hannah Weshy?
Yes.
And how are you familiar with her?
Her father worked for my husband, and we would go to the zoo and some outings together, Lindsay and I, and she babysat it. Hannah?
You said her father worked for your husband. What's her father's name?
Jason?
And what's your husband's name?
Jay?
I'm sorry.
Jay?
All right, thank you. And you said you would do some outings?
Yes.
Tell me about that. How would those outings occur? What happened?
It was one of Lindsay's daughter's birthday, so we went to the zoo together.
And who all went to the zoo?
Lindsay and I and her two daughters, and then Hannah and another little girl that she babysat.
You said another little girl that she babysat. Who are we talking about?
Her name was KK. They called her KK.
I'm sorry, KK?
Yes.
And who would babysit KK?
Lindsay.
You said outings. Was there more than just that zoo outing that you did?
Yes.
Tell me about that. What other outings did you do?
We done some shopping together.
Was that one time or more than one time?
One time.
And tell me about the shopping. Who went shopping?
Lindsay and I both took the kids and went.
And what kids are we talking about?
Her two, and then the two she babysat it, which was Hannah and KK.
Okay. And I'm going to ask you, I know it's hard, your voice keeps dropping off, so I just want to make sure we can hear you. You said her two girls, and what are their names?
Vivian and Savannah.
Would you have occasion to have contact with Hannah within the defendant's home?
Yes.
And how often would that occur?
Every other day. Hit and miss.
And for what reason would you have that contact?
I would either just stop in to see the girls or drop something off or pick something up, or for whatever reasons of being neighbors and family.
And on those times, did you have contact with Hannah?
Not always, no.
Would the defendant tell you where Hannah was at those times?
Object. How's this relevant to the issues?
Approach.
Were there times that you did see Hannah within Lindsay's home?
Yes.
When you would see Hannah, can you describe her demeanor?
Object. Relevance.
Approach.
Leading up to March 8th of 2018, would you have seen Hannah within the home of Lindsay Partin?
No.
In the months between January of 2018 all the way up till March of 2018, did you see Hannah within the home?
I don't remember.
When was it that you would see her in the home? What is that time frame?
Every morning when I get up and I make coffee, my window is facing their home, and I could see Jason taking Hannah to Lindsay.
Otherwise, would you have the occasion to be within Lindsay's home and have contact with Hannah?
Object. Ask and answer. She gave the contract.
I'll sustain in the regard that she testified that at least from January of 18 forward, she did not. So if you want to phrase the question around that answer and go on from there.
Otherwise, prior to January, so between the months of September of 2017, all the way through the end of December of 2017, would you have occasion to see Hannah within the home of the defendant?
Yes.
March 8th, 2018, that morning, were you home?
I was.
Did you receive a call that morning?
Yes.
And who did you receive that call from?
My husband.
And based on that call, what did you do?
I told my daughter that one of the children was hurt, and I looked out the window and there was an ambulance at Lindsay's, and we got in the car and went up there.
And your daughter, what's her name?
Melanie.
Was she at your house that morning? Did she live with you?
She did at the time. She's married now.
And tell me about what you saw when you arrived at the home where the ambulance was. And whose home was that?
Lindsay's and TJ's.
Okay. I'm just going to ask you to speak up a little louder. I'm sorry.
Sorry.
You said Lindsay and TJ's?
Yes.
And who was there when you got there?
There was a lot of people there, the police, ambulance, Jason, my husband, TJ.
And what happened then?
We walked in the front door, and we just stood there, and we was, wondering what had happened, and they said that.
And I'm sorry, you can't say what other people say.
Okay.
Unless you're talking about something that Lindsay Partin, the defendant, told you.
Okay.
When you first walked into the home, did you have any conversation with the defendant?
No.
Did you make contact with somebody?
Yes, my husband and TJ, they were standing there.
What happened next? Without telling me what anybody said, what happened next?
We'd asked what had happened and waited, and the ambulance had taken Hannah to the hospital, and Lindsay came into the living room and I told her I would watch the kids while she went to the hospital with the ambulance.
All right. And then you said you'd watch the kids. Did anybody stay there at the house while you did that?
My daughter,
I think you said that TJ and Jay had been in the home at that point. Did they stay or did they?
they left.
And what did you and your daughter do then?
We cleaned up the house because it was a mess. I wanted to help out
Wanted to help who?
Lindsay.
Did you know there was a criminal investigation going on?
No,
Why did you clean the house?
because I knew she had been pretty down and going through some things, and the house was a mess and I wanted to help her.
What time did somebody return to the house, if you recall?
I do not recall the time.
You said you were left, you and your daughter,
Yes.
and was it just Lindsay's two girls, or was KK there as well?
I believe KK was there as well.
Who was the next person that came back to the home?
Lindsay.
And what did Lindsay say at that point?
She was pretty frantic.
And what was she frantic about?
We had cleaned up the house and there was a toy that she was kept asking about and told me to, I told her I cleaned it up and put the toys away, and she said to go get it right now and put it right back right now.
And what was that toy?
A toy train, a ride-on train.
Did you continue to stay at the house after that?
For a while, yes.
And who was there while you stayed?
My daughter had already gone, and it was Lindsay and I believe.
Do you know what time you left that day?
I do not. It was shortly after my daughter.
Was anybody else there other than Lindsay and the girls when you left?
I took the girls with me.
Okay. When you left, was Lindsay at the house alone, or was somebody else there?
She left at the same time to go to Children's.
Do you know if it was the morning or the afternoon when you left with the girls?
It was kind of mid-morning.
Do you know where Lindsay had been prior to that?
Children's or Hamilton, Fort Hamilton Hospital.
Do you know if she'd been anywhere else at that point in time?
No, I do not.
Did she tell you where she had been?
No, she did not.
March 7th, the evening before that. Were you home all night? Did you go somewhere?
I went somewhere.
And where did you go?
Dollar General.
And State's Exhibit 86, I'm going to go ahead and put back up there. Can you draw on the map how you would have gone to go to Dollar General? And the house on the right, as you're coming from your house, right before the bend in the road, do you know whose house that is?
Jason Washi.
Can you go ahead and circle that? Do you know what time that you left for Dollar General?
Sometime after 8, shortly after 8.
And when you left, did you notice whether or not Jason's car was home?
No,
No, you didn't notice?
I didn't notice.
And what time did you return?
Around 8:40, 8:45.
And at that point, when you returned, did you notice whether or not Jason's car was home?
Yes, I did.
And was it home?
Yes.
Were you aware of the defendant's arrest after her statements on March 9th of 2018?
Yes.
Following that, did you have a conversation with the defendant about that? Following her arrest?
Yes.
At that point in time, had you received information about what was being said or what was alleged to have been said by the defendant in that interview?
In the interview?
Yes.
Could you repeat the question?
When you had that conversation with Lindsay, did you have any idea of what the sheriff's office was saying she had said in that interview?
Yes.
What did Lindsay tell you about that?
That it was all lies. And she did not do anything.
Did you say whether or not she'd said that?
She said she did not say that.
At some point in time, Detective Turner reached out to you to meet with you.
Yes.
Did you meet with him?
No.
Why not?
I don't know.
If I may have just a moment.
Yes, take the point.
You indicated that on March 8th, when Lindsay got home, she was upset about the train.
Yes.
Did she say anything else to you at that point in time?
She said she was in big trouble.
Did you ask her why?
Yes, she just was frantic. I told her it was an accident and we was all praying.
And what was her response to that?
She just seemed very frantic.
I have no further questions.
Ms. Howard, you may cross when you're ready.
Thank you, Ron. Good afternoon.
Hi.
My name is Melinda Cook Howard. I represent Lindsay. I've never met you, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Ma'am, do you go to church on Wednesday evenings?
Sometimes.
Okay. Do you recall specifically whether you went to church on March 7th of 2018?
No.
How did you remember you went to Dollar General if you can't remember if you went to church on a Wednesday?
Because I remember what was going on at the time in my life.
Okay. Did you write it down anywhere?
No.
Okay. How often do you go to church on Wednesday nights?
Not very often.
And you attend the Pentecostal Highway?
Yes.
Okay. And I apologize, I'm going to ask some intrusive questions, I apologize. During this time period, your father was in hospice, is that correct?
Yes.
So in the March of 2018 time period?
Yes.
And he'd been in hospice for some time, is that correct?
Shortly before that, yes.
Okay. And then he passed in, I believe, May of 2018, is that correct?
Yes.
No further questions, thank you.
Redirect?
No.
Ma'am, thank you very much. You may step down, watch your step. Is she potentially subject to recall?
No.
All right. Ma'am, however, we do order, so to say, ask. We do, you are not permitted to discuss your testimony with any other potential witnesses, okay? All right, thank you very much.
Be very careful around the monitor, ma'am.
All right, attorneys, let's have a little conference up here so I can figure out what's next. So Ms. Hiley, just journalizing what we discussed up here, the state is not intending to call any further witnesses, correct?
That is correct, Your Honor.
In case in chief is what I meant.
Yes.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, here's what we're going to do. It is about 10 till 5, or quarter till 5. We are probably in the position where we're getting ready to start the defense case if there's going to be a presentation. And I don't want to get started into that tonight, being the timing that we're dealing with. So I'm going to go ahead and let you go home for the evening, leave your notepads, leave your lanyards. You are still under the same admonitions that you've been under. One little, this really doesn't impact the timing. If you can be here between 8:30 and 8:45, we'll try this. I am going to hopefully take a quick plea at 8:30 in the morning, but that won't impact our timing, I don't think. They show up, it won't take me but 10 minutes. They don't show up, and it'll take me a lot shorter. So, you guys are free to leave for the evening, and we will see everybody back here tomorrow between 8:30 and 8:45, and we'll get started as promptly as we get everybody here, okay? All right, very good, ladies on the record.
I'm not sure. You know.
Hi, folks.
The relayer?
Yeah, that's good. All right, everybody have a seat. You're supposed to, it appears as though you have a lanyard in your hand. So,
Looks like somebody else stuck out with one as well.
no, okay. No. All right. So at this time, state is formally resting its case in chief, correct?
That's fine.
All right. Any issues to address on behalf of the state or the defense at this time?
I'll make a Rule 29 motion to submit it alone.
And Ms. Island, likewise?
Yes, although we haven't done the admission of exhibits, I think that's fine. Slightly out of order, but that's fine.
Yeah. Well, and we are
So
going
I'd ask you to consider the exhibits that are in your Rule 29 motion. In the Rule 29.
And I've been doing my best to keep up with the state's exhibits. We'll have to cash all that here momentarily. But with the presentation of the evidence to this point and looking at the evidence in light most favorable to the state, there certainly are issues that the court feels at this point should be considered by the jury, and so I'm going to deny the Rule 29 motion. That being stated, any other issues before we do jump into the evidence that's been admitted and so on and so forth?
I'd just like an idea of when the court feels it appropriate to evaluate jury instructions, just so that I can do the work probably tonight and be ready tomorrow probably.
Well, I mean, obviously, some of it's going to depend on you folks. Not trying to put the defense on any type of commitments in terms of how many witnesses they're going to call or so forth. I do know that we have the video that'll take approximately 2 hours for the deposition. Estimating it in time-wise,
My part was 2 hours. Melinda has the next part, which would be
Ms. Howard?
3 hours.
Sorry.
Probably 5
Yeah,
hours.
sure.
Ms. Howard, do we anticipate that the defense would be in a position to rest tomorrow?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think we'll rest tomorrow.
Early afternoon, mid-afternoon, late afternoon?
Depends on the cross.
Mid-afternoon, I'd say.
Okay. So it sounds like, what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask the parties to start looking at the jury instruction issues. Maybe at lunchtime tomorrow we can sit down.
Okay.
There are some revisions I'm going to make to mine this evening as well.
All right.
I'll email those to all the attorneys this evening, and we can compare notes tomorrow at lunchtime. And maybe that'll put us in a position that we'll have it all settled in March.
Okay.
Okay?
All right, I'll work on it tonight then.
So, anything else before we tackle the exhibits?
Nothing else I can think of. Thanks.
All right. Well, let me go through my listings with the state's evidence first.
Yes.
Ms. Wilson, are you have your list as well?
I do, Your Honor.
All right, very good. So as I go through this, if anybody catches me misspeaking, please correct me. I'm showing the admission of exhibits 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I do not show that we admitted either 6 or 7.
Correct.
Ms. Hyland, you concur with that?
I agree with that.
All right. Looks like we admitted Exhibit 8, which were the Cincinnati Children's records. Did not admit Exhibit 9, which I think are Dr. Correa's records.
And that's because they're all within State's Exhibit 8.
Okay. So when you had her identify Exhibit 9, I'm assuming that
They're excerpted from it.
for the purposes of facilitating her testimony?
Yes.
Okay. We did not admit Exhibit 10, which was Dr. Correa's supplemental report, although obviously it was identified and there was testimony surrounding it. Did admit Exhibit 11,
Yes.
12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18. These all appear to be from the slideshow presentation about the CT scans, I believe it was.
Yes.
19, Dr. Young's records from children's records not admitted. Again, I'm presuming those were part and incorporated in Exhibit 8.
Yes.
Okay. So 19 was not admitted separately. Dr. Young's CV, Exhibit 20 looks like it did admit. And then these next exhibits that I'm going to identify appear to be retinal images. 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26.
And Your Honor, I want to stop you. 24, 25, and 25, 26, 27, and 28. Those were all identified. We did not go through them. I see no need to submit them because they weren't discussed. They really don't have any meaning behind them. So my request would be to withdraw those.
I have no objection.
Was that 25, 26, and 27?
Yes.
Okay, let me get caught up there.
Actually, 25, 26, 27, and 28.
Okay, so you are asking for 25 through 28 to be withdrawn.
Yes.
No objection from defense. So 25, 26, 27, and 28 will be heretofore deemed not admitted pursuant to the request of the state and the agreement of the defense. 29, however, is admitted, correct?
Yes.
And then 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35. Ms. Wilson, please stop. If any of us, if we get too fast, I wasn't really
Yes, Your Honor.
thinking about you, and I should have, my apologies. 36, 37, 38, all agreed.
Yes.
Looks like Exhibit 39, Dr. Makarov's report, at least as it is marked on my sheet, was identified but not admitted. Again, the presumption that that was included in the more comprehensive Exhibit 8, the children's records.
Yes.
That's-
I don't remember if that's
You're
what.
you're talking about Exhibit 39?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. Yes, it was just her report that was pulled from Exhibit 8. So it's all in there.
All right, and similarly with Exhibit 40, which I think was her supplemental report.
That was, yes, the supplemental letter.
But that's not in the children's services. Children.
No, that one's not part of that,
That
the
one's
children's
not,
records,
right.
but yes.
That was her.
But we're not moving to admit
Yeah,
either.
39 and 40 have not been admitted to this point, and state has not requested.
39's in because it's in through 8.
But individually, it's not.
It's not in a separate Exhibit 39. Okay, now the next exhibits I'm going to reference are photographs of Hannah Westshee at Children's. And these have all been admitted. That's 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68. That is the end of the photographs that I have. Exhibit 69 was Dr. Makaroff's CV. I'm showing that that was actually admitted.
Yes.
Okay. Dr. Dean's CV, Exhibit 70, admitted.
Yes.
Which, I'm sorry, which?
Dean.
Dr. Dean. Exhibit 71, the coroner's report, I am showing as identified but not admitted.
Your Honor, the state would move to admit that, removing page 1 of that report, which is the opinion, but leaving the postmortem examination of the body. It's both a public record and a business record, as well as that
I don't
upon
mind that it
which...
goes, you don't have to argue. I don't mind that it
Okay.
goes in, but I don't know, I think it goes in total. I don't know why.
I'm okay with the opinion page. I just know that the opinion page is typically more objectionable, and what the rule says is the detailed examination comes in, or what the case law says, but not necessarily the opinion page. But if you want it all in, that's fine.
Here's what I'm hearing. The parties are agreed to admit it in total.
And the reason I am is because my doctor said that he relied upon it in forming his opinions almost, because he's a psychologist. So
I figured that, so, okay.
All right,
So Exhibit 71 will be admitted then in total.
yes,
Exhibit 72 was identified, the death record not admitted.
correct.
Okay. 73, the death certificate identified but not admitted.
Correct.
Once again, the following exhibits are going to be photographs of the autopsy, I believe, and these have been admitted. 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, and 83.
Correct.
84, I don't believe has been either identified or admitted.
It has not?
Same with 85.
That's correct.
All right. So 84 and 85 are on neither list, Ms. Wilson.
Correct, sir.
86 and 87, both identified and admitted. Those are the aerial map views.
Yes.
88, 911 call, admitted.
Yes.
89, a CAD report, identified but not admitted.
That's my understanding.
Exhibit 90, the toy train, I'm showing as identified but not admitted.
That's, I guess it's kind of hard. It's kind of published when you put it out there. But yeah, I think, we've got the picture. I don't see any need to send, I know the court would love to just hang on to that train. It's an exhibit, but we don't see any need
And
for it
8
to go
boxes
back.
of 33,000 pages of records, yes. Any commentary on the actual train itself?
I don't think we need to train it.
There's a photograph. I don't
Right,
know.
there's a photograph, right, we don't need
So
to.
nobody is requesting then the admission of Exhibit 90? So-
No.
All right, very good. Exhibit 91, the pediatric records from Forest Hills, I'm showing as admitted. Exhibit 92, Miranda warnings from March of 8th, I'm showing as identified but not admitted. Exhibit 93, the video of the interview from March 8th of defendant admitted. 94, the Miranda warning for defendant on March 9, identified but not admitted. 95, the video of the March 9th interview of defendant, identified and admitted. Let's see, 96 through 123, I believe. I want to make sure I characterize these correctly. I think all of those are photographs of defendant's residence. I'm showing that 96, 97, 98, 99, 100, 101, 102, 103, 104, 105, 106, 107, 108, 109, 110, 111, 112, 113, 114, 115, 116, 117, 118, 119, 120, 121, 122, 123 have all been admitted. Exhibit 124, the phone of defendant.
I needed to see something in that. There was a piece of paper within the phone black case I saw yesterday.
All right.
I meant to look at it earlier, I apologize.
I think it's
But I asked it to be taken out.
This is a OLEG printout.
It was in the pocket of the,
Both parties
Whatever this
are-
thing is.
both parties are-
I agree that should come out.
thank you, yes.
Very good. So with the removal of that item, Exhibit 124 has otherwise been admitted. 125, list of phone downloads has been admitted. 126, a cover page in reference to the phone downloads admitted. 127, a call log relating to the downloads admitted. 128, a timeline connected to the downloads admitted. 129, a search history regarding the, or related to the downloads admitted. Exhibits 130, 131, both been admitted. Those are each photographs of Kanaweshi. Let's see here, the next exhibits, 132 through 149, I believe are all photographs of Jason Weshy's residence. 132, 133, 134, 135 admitted. 136, 137, 138 admitted. 139, 140, 141 admitted. 142, 143, 144 admitted. 145, 146, 147 admitted. 148, 149 all admitted. 150 I'm showing were
Identified but not admitted because they're part of State's Exhibit 8.
right, and they were identified through Dr.
Chima.
Chima. Okay. So 150 was not admitted as a separate exhibit. 162 through 168, I've got noted here that they were photographs.
I have do you not have 151, 152, 153, 54, 55?
Yeah, but I have them written down a little later. So
Oh,
I'll
okay,
get back
I'm
to
sorry.
those.
Okay.
I'm going in the order of the state presented them.
So 161 is where you are?
162.
161, 162, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68. I believe those are all photographs from the autopsy.
Yes,
I'm showing all of those have been admitted.
yes.
Now getting back to 151, and because I don't have the actual picture, state I'm showing it was admitted, but it was a photograph of.
The train with the measurement, yeah.
So I'm showing the 151, the photograph of the train was admitted.
Yes.
152 through 155, those were those photographs?
Those were the GoFundMe things.
That's right. That I admitted. I think we addressed the sidebar. 156 was identified but not admitted. I think that was a transcript of a statement that Jason Weshy had given.
Yes.
And that was used by both parties for purposes of developing testimony but not admitted.
Yes.
I am not showing any other exhibits admitted by the state.
That's all I have in our book. And luckily, Ms. Sheehan has
There was
157, 158, or 59 or 60.
There
We
was
did not
no-
have, those were blank spaces available to us if we needed them. Okay.
Yeah, so 157 through 160 were not used. Doesn't pick back up at the photographs of 160.
Yeah.
All right, so all parties are in agreement at this point in terms of the state's exhibits.
Yes, from the
I mean, what has
defense.
been admitted,
Yes, sir.
subject obviously to whatever objections and conversations have been had. Okay. Now, this one's going to be a little bit more tricky for me because I don't actually have an updated list as
have my chicken scratch
as
if
a
we want to make
running
a
list of
copy.
the defense.
We can move to admit them after our case.
Or give me a chance to go through tonight and type it up.
Yeah, I think-
I would appreciate that because I was trying my best to keep up.
It's mostly typed.
But once we got to the records, you just kind of lost me, so, all right. If the defense will do that, provide that first thing in the morning, we can either address that first thing in the morning or, as Mr. Pagan said, at the end of the case, of the defense case. Either way, but as long as I'm able to just get back on track with all the little double Qs and triple Rs and everything else, okay? All right, so we have done that. Is there anything else we need to address then for tonight's purposes before we go home?
Your Honor, I believe our discussions, based on what we had before, the court is not expecting that we will go to closing tomorrow? Or should we be prepared to go to closing? No, we'll have 2 hours of testimony.
We'll be done
from-
mid-afternoon, and then we'll have to do what we did here and work on jury instructions.
I would love to be able to respond in the affirmative.
Okay,
I
So
don't
we
know
should be
that I
prepared.
safely can.
okay.
What should the attorneys prepare? Because
So, we'll just have to drag out cross.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
it's our technique.
Well, if for some reason all the stars align and we do get done, like say 1:30 or whatever,
Right.
I would appreciate the attorneys being in a position where we could get there.
Okay.
I'm not optimistic we will, but I would rather you guys be prepared as opposed to sending them home at 1:30 and wasting them, half an hour.
Yeah.
Judge, can I ask a clarifying question? If we were in a position where we could get through maybe states closed, but maybe not have enough time for defense close, is that something that the court would entertain breaking them up, or would we just?
I would prefer not. I
Right, yeah.
don't know that that really is a good idea from either perspective.
Right. And that was kind of my thought.
Yeah,
too.
I'm not a fan of that, so, and I appreciate the clarifying question, but my anticipation is that we jump into one closing, we're gonna do it all,
Okay.
okay?
Thank you.
Because unfortunately, if I let, the state do its closing, then that gives
Right.
jury all night to simmer, and so that's a lot of pluses and minuses on both sides, I don't think necessarily it's fair to either side, so. All right, anything else then to address?
No.
Nothing on behalf of the state, thank you.
All right, very good. I'm going to retire and, like I said, work on some revisions to the jury instructions. I'll shoot those out to council, hopefully within the half hour, and then we can go forward accordingly tomorrow, okay?
Yes, thank you.
All right, we will go on the record. Everybody have a good evening. See
I didn't
everybody
touch
by
it.
8:30 tomorrow, okay? And like I stated, if I do have to do a plea, it'll take about 5 minutes, 10 minutes.
No, but I specifically saw it. I didn't pull it.
I did.
Okay.